I am Femi Okay.
And I'm Malika Bilal, and you're in the stream.
Today, in Afghanistan's peace process, where are the voices of women? We'll speak to Afghan women who want a bigger say in negotiating an end of war in their country.
Online, our community is already talking about how Afghan women's rights might be affected by a peace deal with the Taliban. Share your thoughts with us live via YouTube and on Twitter.
On Saturday, US officials continued their negotiations with the Taliban, attempting to end its 17-year war in Afghanistan. But women's advocates worry that any eventual peace deal may come at the expense of gains made on women's rights in the country since 2001. And few Afghan women have had a seat at the table in the ongoing negotiations to voice their concerns.
Online, those calling for the protection of Afghan women's rights are using the hashtag Afghan women will not go back. They're referring to the Taliban's rule from 1996 to 2001, when women were banned from having jobs, going to school, and participating in politics.
Joining us to talk about these issues in Oslo, Afghanistan's ambassador to Norway, Shukriya Barakzai. In Waterloo, Canada, Wajma Frog. She is a member of Afghanistan's High Peace Council and founder of the Women and Peace Studies Organization, which works to improve women's inclusion in the security sector. And in Kabul, Afghanistan, Najia Nassim, Executive Director with the group Women for Afghan Women. It's good to have you here, ladies. Now, it may be difficult to get your voices heard in politics, but definitely not on social media. Malika.
Indeed. So I want to start with a member of our community who used the hashtag I mentioned just a little earlier. This is Kabul Sufi, using that hashtag Afghan women will not go back. She writes, women are an integral part of the entire society and country, and they should have equal say at the table in order to share partnership for peace and ensure that their rights are not sidelined. Ambassador Shukriya, is this something that you see as happening already, this being an equal say at the table?
I would love to see that, but unfortunately for the time being, there is no women around the table to talk and negotiate. Not only about women's rights, but it's about Afghanistan, about human rights, about human being. We women are more than half of population in Afghanistan, and this is our right to know what's going on. No one can decide anything on our absence. We need to be on the table, plus on the menu. Time is, it's not acceptable for any Afghan to just be on the side. We don't want to be a sideline. We are a reality in the country, if they like us or not. We are a power. We are a member of our society, and we are contributing exactly same as Afghan men. Why not? I don't know why. Again, we should raise that, hey guys, look, we are here. They shouldn't be that blind. They shouldn't be that kind of dominated by their own masculine points of view to ignore and neglect women's democracy. How peace can build without women participation? It's impossible.
I'm just curious, Najia, in what way are you sidelined? Do you feel it is the negotiators, the international negotiators, the people who are hosting the negotiations who are leaving you out? Or is it your fellow countrymen leaving you out of the peace process?
Actually, so I do feel that women are sidelined because, as Shukriya John already mentioned, that women are half population of the country, so they should be there, and they should talk about not only women's rights, but being an Afghan citizen as a whole. Like, they have to represent Afghanistan and side by the men. So I would definitely say that first thing, that whenever any negotiation peace process or any other issues, and it is organized by any country, so women and as a citizen of those countries should be included. I would definitely say on this that women should be included in that by any party that they organize, and of course women should government. Yeah, that's important.
Sure. So last Thursday, we had in Afghanistan hundreds of women actually joining together to talk about the peace process in a women's Jirga. Al Jazeera's Charlotte Bellis actually reported about that Jirga. Have a look to see what happened.
As the Taliban met with the US in Doha, this was a parallel meeting, except men were replaced by women.
Everyone came to say their perspective. It was a proud moment for me among these women. We cannot travel to other provinces because of security, but this allowed us to be united.
The National Women's Jirga was the result of a grassroots movement that began in Kabul in August and spread to all of Afghanistan's 34 provinces. Influential women from each province led the meetings. The format included a question and answer session where they discussed women's legal and constitutional rights, their role in Islam and Afghan culture. Then each province wrote a statement of their demands for peace. These declarations outlined what they want and will fight for should the US and Taliban agree to a deal.
Wajma, how influential can that women's Jirga be? How can it be change the status quo in terms of representation of women in the peace process?
I think it responds to the question that which women are asking for rights. It's interesting that a lot of our even American critics, American analysts keep writing articles saying that Afghanistan is a tribal country, its rural areas do not accept any women's rights, and these are not the women who are asking for any part in the negotiation. So when 700 women from 34 provinces of Afghanistan come together, and interestingly, they actually ask for more than what I'm asking for. They are asking for justice. They are asking for transitional justice. They are asking for rule of law and not returning back to the barbaric regime that the Islamic Emirate of the Taliban had in the past. So this actually tells that, yes, Afghanistan is a diverse country. We who work in the cities, who live in Kabul, that go to different provinces, we do have a lot of outreach. We do have a lot of, backup from the women who are, who might not be literate, who does not know how to use Facebook or Twitter or this hashtag to raise her voice, but she is saying, I'm not going back. So this is a very important response. And I have to say, it wasn't the first time that women have come together. I've been part of this movement for the past 18 years in Afghanistan and before with the refugee camps in Pakistan. And I've seen how women in the rural areas came forward and have had a very, very strong position when it came to, deciding about the national matters.
Yeah, Wajma, you mentioned that this is about asking for justice, and there's a tweet here that really dovetails nicely with what you were saying, because Myra here says that peace means more than just an end to war, and that is quoting the women of Ghazni who were surveyed here. She says women must have influence in every step of the process, and she quotes a tweet from the Afghan Women for Peace account in which they say women of Ghazni emphasize that women's participation must be secured in every step of the peace process. Peace means women's civil rights to healthcare, education, and employment are upheld and must not be sacrificed. So that idea of this meaning more than just peace as a word, Najia, what do you make of that? That peace in every aspect of their life means justice?
Yes, actually, so peace means different things, like for different parts of the country in Afghanistan. Actually, everybody wants peace. So when it comes to peace, so it is like justice, it's no discrimination, no violence. So it's all comes under peace. It's not only that stop the war, that's it. But when it comes to no discrimination, based on no discrimination based on gender, based on language. So that is peace, no violence, and that's all come under peace. I would definitely say that it's like the rule of law, implementation of law, that this all comes under peace. So
I want to show our audience a session that was held in Moscow quite recently. It was the Afghan peace talks, actually held without the Afghan government. I want you to see what it looks like when there are women at the table. We're just going to roll that video right now. And I will name you, there's two women that you will see, and everybody was wondering, who are those two women? And I can tell you, as we get a little bit closer, you'll see Fawzia Kofi, she is an MP, and in a moment you'll see, there you go, Hawa Alam Nuristani, she's from the Afghan Independent Human Rights Organization. Ambassador, when there are so few women involved in the peace talks, what is being missed out in this conversation? It's so critical.
I believe in this conversation, lots of things and lots of issues was been missing. First of all, the government of Afghanistan. And secondly, as I mentioned too, we are half of the population. Those two brave ladies was being circulated by a man, but still salute to them. They also raised very important issue. But I was also with the Taliban talk in 2015 in Norway. It was a first Taliban-Afghan women's, let's say, informal talks, which is they don't want to leak to the media, under different environment. At the time, Taliban was not really talking from the power position, and their international market was not that wide as it is and wise as it is today. But from my point of view, I would say something to you very clearly, to the women of Afghanistan and to the women around the world. Men are thinking we are slowly going and taking their job, occupations, positions, power. And there's a big fear in Afghanistan among men. It doesn't matter if they're men in the government or men in the Taliban side or the Mujahideen side. They don't like us. This is what I'm talking from my own experience. But when it comes to women empowerment, despite of the women are educated or not, they are living in the cities or in the villages, they are capable and they have enough power to raise what exactly they want. I don't like any circle to be drawn by anyone to the women of Afghanistan. To say, okay, guys, you can go and you can just be in education or you can work. No. Who they are that they like to draw for as a circle or a frame, what should I do and what I shouldn't. I'm seeking for equality, men and women, according to the law. I would like the Constitution, as I had the honor to draft the Constitution, and I know how hard it is. I traveled more than 16 provinces myself. Very far village, but the message was exactly the same. Different language, different sentence, but at the end with the same meaning. A peaceful Afghanistan doesn't mean that one political group or another political group will lead the country. Peaceful Afghanistan means respect and implement the justice.
So as going,
it means equal opportunity for men and women.
And in a move towards implementing that justice, Ambassador, I wanted to bring your attention and all of our guests' attention to this. What the Afghan government said not too long ago, that women will make up 30% of the next Loya Jirga, or the Grand Assembly, in March. And our community has so much to say about that. So we got a video comment from someone who is in Geneva. Seema Samar is the chairperson of the Afghanistan Independent Human Rights Commission. And this is what she makes of that.
Women participation in the peace process is vital. Otherwise, we cannot make peace with half of the population. And I think it's 30% of women participation in the Loya Jirga is a good step, and hope that we will have 50% in the future.
So 30% is a good step. That's what she says. Another person on Twitter.
Not for me.
This is Maryam. Maryam says, if it's not symbolic, then yes, it's a good step. But we got one more comment from someone who says that this will be symbolic and this is not enough. Akmal here says 30% of women participation is unprecedented, but he got a response from someone saying that it is just the makeup. It is just someone putting dressing over a problem. You said not for you. Wajma, I'm wondering what you think.
I want to actually bring the attention that why are we asking for inclusion? The human rights argument is the vital one, that we are half of the population. So what is the question of us being left aside? But it's about like, what do we bring to the table? Having been at the High Peace Council, my experience shows that every time that we brought in, the political leaders, the factions, the warlords, we women talked about what happened to that school which was bombed, which is closed, what happened to the clinic that is not being used by the community, why people are not being able to get any access to the local government, why don't we have an attorney general's office in this province. And there has been time that I've been told that you women are so problematic because you bring the whole problem of the community. I never asked for my own right that, I want to be the minister of this and I want to be the minister of that. No, I keep bringing the issues of the community. And by our inclusion, we have actually opened the door for other minorities. The reason I'm so concerned about is that I don't want us to be in another civil war. The Afghanistan conflict, you said, started from 2001, 17 years, but it's as old as myself. It's actually going to be 40 years of conflict. We have had these warlords going to Saudi Arabia, and I remember this vividly, putting their hands on the holy book, on Quran, saying that we will get together. The moment they came back, because there was no reconciliation, it fell apart. So what I'm so worried about is that Khalilzad, the U.S. negotiator, is talking with these, chubby Taliban leaders sitting in these 5-star hotels. But then when they come back to Afghanistan, they find out a whole new structure. You have all these young combatants fighting on the ground. You have a whole new generation. In 18 years, if somebody was 10 years of age under the Taliban, now that person is actually 38. He has gone to school, he has gone to university, he has a social media access, and he has a voice. Same goes to the young women. So the Taliban are going to actually face a whole new country, which they are not ready to accept. This is what I'm more interested to bring in. It's not just about women, that because I'm a woman, I'm only talking about women. No, as a part of the society, I want to know what happens to the disarmament. We have so many armed men in this society. And the Taliban would be an addition to that. Like, how do we do disarmament? What happens to the reconciliation? We have a lot of, national grievances. How do we get along with each other?
So, let me just ask you this, because you're listing some really important issues that you would like to be discussed. I'm just looking here at aljazeera.com. US Taliban talks resume in Doha after a 2-day break. You can see the makeup here of people at the discussion table. Are you telling me that those issues that you said are so important to the community, are they not being discussed?
We are not at the table, and when we are in that 5-star hotel menu that they have already eaten us up. We are not being. Nobody is talking about the end of bloodshed. We had 10,000 civilian casualties in this just 2018. We have 45,000 of our sons, the forces of Afghanistan, who have been, victims of this war. So we have given so much of sacrifice in this war, and at the end of the day, it's the US and the Taliban who have been living in Quetta and behind the mountains, and they don't know what kind of Afghanistan they are actually going to see after 20 years.
I hear you there.
I would like to add something.
Go ahead, Ambassador.
From my point of view, we should accept this talk is between United States of America and Taliban. And for sure, women are not on the menu, and women's issues, since they are not on the table, of course, we are not
at the table. Goes to saying you're on the menu.
Exactly. We are exactly not at all, because what is they think is a priority, they have more serious issues to be negotiated rather than women's issue in Afghanistan. I remember, because I was witness, and I was one of those loud voice, which is most of people in the government and out of the government, Taliban, and mujahideen they don't like, because I like to say what is important for the people. First of all, I would say 50% women must attend Peace Jirga. I am not anymore. I will never get to be satisfied by 30%. I don't like quotas anymore. So as far as I'm equal in the society, I need to sit everywhere equally. This is number one, because 40%, I was struggling for that 30 or 25% like 17 years back when I was drafting the constitution for my country. And after 70 years, again, I would say, oh, thank you, that's fair enough, that's good enough. Not at all. When it comes to United States of America, we Afghan women know what is our job and our duty. We are grateful, they help us a lot, but you should remember, and Americans should remember, what we achieved, it's the Afghan women. They paid their life, we achieve our goals. We are on the right way and direction. The women's rights issue in Afghanistan and the women's achievement are not a gift from anyone except the struggle of the Afghan women. They are paying their life, we paid our life, we paid our time, and we struggled. And we accept all the blame, all the labels that the community and society can put on. For me, it's unacceptable anymore to, after, let's say, 40 years again, to listen, oh, it's a very tradition, it's a very tribal society. Yes,
yeah, and
it is a tribal society.
Ambassador, you're not alone there. You're not alone there. You're mentioning that,
Yes.
you know, the women that have paid their lives. This is a tweet we got from the Voice of Afghan. They write, every day a new story of horrifying violence against women in Afghanistan comes to light. And I believe everyone now knows how much Afghan women suffer from mistreatment, insecurity, poverty, lack of access to education, healthcare, all of which prevent them from exercising their rights. So keeping that in mind, we got a question on YouTube, and I'll give this to you, Najia. Elizabeth on YouTube says, how are women activists encouraging women to speak out more? Are you getting support from international governments and organizations? And is the U.S. helping you in that goal at all? Najia.
I would say, actually, I mean, during the last 1.5 decades, so there has been quite investment in Afghanistan and Afghanistan women, and there has been significant achievements in terms of women rights and educational access to health. But it's not enough. It's not enough. We still need to move forward and to go. And those, in what it comes to, there has been support from the government of Afghanistan, and there has been support the civil society from a number of international organizations to actually, they have raised their voice, and they have promised that they will support Afghan women in transferring their voice to the world. Yeah, there has been quite, but still on a high-ranking level, when it comes to United States government and the peace talk, which is going right now. So the expectation is, and the expectation will be in future, that inclusion of women at high peace, at these negotiations should be there.
Wajma, I just want to put this to you because it's really quite intriguing. I showed you the video of the talks that happened in Moscow a little while ago. This is the Taliban chief negotiator. There was an actual section about women's rights in his speech and his remarks. Two things that jumped out at me. Under the name of women's rights, there has been work for immorality, indecency, and circulation of non-Islamic cultures. And then Islamic Emirate is committed to eliminate all these evil customs and traditions that violate women's rights and do not comply with Islamic principles and provide them a safe environment. After 17 years of a very different kind of Afghanistan, just briefly, one thought about that comment.
I want to say that if they had changed, if that's what they believed,
yes,
please go to Warduj of Badakhshan. Right now, Warduj of Badakhshan, it's a district that comes under the control of the Taliban, and women are being flogged there. So they have to show this in action.
And Najia and Ambassador, we really appreciate you being on the program today, talking about women in politics in Afghanistan. And Malika and I will see you online. Thanks for watching.